Welcome back to Town Manager's Corner. We have another exciting episode for you. This is sort of a second segment on our DPW fire station building project. As everybody, I hope, knows by now, that we have a town meeting coming up on October 14th. One of the big items on the warrant is funding for a new co-located fire station and DPW facility. This will be on the existing Central Street campus where our current police station is right now. In the current DPW facility is there now. Our fire headquarters and our Station 2 and our DPW facility are all in dire need of being replaced. Buildings are at a critical state of failure almost. And, this has been a 4-year process to get us to this point. And I certainly hope that the town takes the time to come to town meeting and have a discussion on it. So with me today, I have Derek Haimaidi, who is chairman of the Fire Station DPW Building Committee. And I have Kevin Donovan, who is the vice chairman of the Board of Selectmen. We're going to have a little bit of talk about the price tag today, gentlemen, and sort of how we got there. So, Derek, let me start off with you, I guess, as the chairman. Currently, we're at $38.5 million, which is, in today's economy, that's actually a really good price for the amount of project that we're getting done. Because when we originally came to town meeting, we had that first project was in excess of that, and it was only for one project.
It was just for one project, and we were really close to that. And only coming up a few $1 million, which sounds like a lot of money. Yeah. We're getting 2 different facilities, which is a big thing.
Yeah, it's big, and as I started off by saying that it's critical. We're at a point right now where we have to do this. So I guess some of the big questions that we have is, okay, well, what is this going to mean to your average taxpayer? And Kevin, you have some answers on that.
Yeah, I think it's important to go back just from a brief historical standpoint. Originally, before I got elected to the Board of Selectmen, Scott, you appointed me as your representative to the Fire Station DPW Study Committee on the basis of representing the retirees, if you will, people on fixed incomes. Because I think when we develop projects in town, often that happens and we lose sight of the fact that there are people out in the community who just have fixed incomes, and obviously the tax impact on them would be huge. So with that said, after that, I've been serving on the committee, then was elected to the Board of Selectmen. The important thing to understand is the committee itself achieved the goal that it was entrusted with. The committee was entrusted with come up with a plan that would detail the needs of both the fire and the Department of Public Works, which the committee did and made its report to you. With that, it came up, and I believe in your last segment you spoke about it, it came out at $58.3 million. Now, if we're going to be realistic about this and expect to put this before the townspeople, $58.3 million is not going to sell, period. It was too much of an increase. It was $1.36 per thousand for the on the valuation of homes for a person's tax bill, and that in and of itself could very well put a lot of seniors out of their homes. And I said, that's not what we're here to do. Our job now, and it was beyond the scope of the committee. The committee's charge was completed. We made our report to the town manager, and then it became within your bailiwick to determine what would be a good financial package to present to the town. Acting then in my capacity that you had appointed me to, I had suggested to you that, look, if we're going to achieve the needs of the town, we've got to get this under control because it's not going to sell if we put it out to the voters. So you did convene a panel of the architects, the engineers, the department heads, Derek and myself, and we were able to come down to a figure of $38.5 million, which will deal with the critical needs of both departments and give the Department of Public Works more space that they have now at the Central Street location. They'll keep their offices their administrative offices at the sewer department plant on Summer Street that was originally going to be encapsulated within the fire department. We've shrunk the size of the fire department down to accommodate that to come up with a 38.5 million. Now, 38.5 million, if we extrapolate that over a 30-year bond at the current rate of interest that when we go out on the market now is roughly 3%. Abington is very fortunate, as you well know. We just had a report come back from Standard & Poor's, one of the rating agencies, that rated us as a AA rating, which is the second from the top. So we will never achieve AAA status because that's usually
We can try.
that's usually reserved for towns like Duxbury and Hingham and Weston and Wayland and the upper crust communities. But in terms of where we sit, Abington is a working class community. Where we sit, we are at the top. So with that, that means we get favorable interest rates. So we looked at that and said, okay, at 3% interest, what would that extrapolate to the average homeowner? It'd be 62 cents per thousand. And I know Derek had mentioned at the previous segment as well, if you go on the website, there is a calculator there that will allow you to figure out how the impact will be on your individual taxes. From my standpoint, being a retiree and on a fixed income myself, pardon me, I feel as though that this project is something that we have reduced it by $20 million. It was something that was originally, when it first started, I think the talk was like 70 million. Committee got it down to 58 million. Now when the rubber hits the road and reality sets in, it's down to 38 million. Now, I know that a lot of people may question, well, how come, if you need 58, how come you're asking for 38? Shouldn't you be asking for the 58? No. Very simply, no. And I know there's been a little bit of grumbling among, perhaps some of the employees that they thought we should go with the 58. Well, that's not reality. Reality sets is that we have to do what's right for the people in town to develop the needs of the departments and the ability of the people to pay. This, I believe, we've achieved that goal. We've reduced it by $20 million. It's 62 cents per thousand on the tax rate, and I think it's something that is certainly affordable and that I would feel comfortable recommending that we go forward with. With that said, we've been able to take out some of the expenses that we had and have the Holbrook E911, the state funding, to fund some of the communications equipment. And I think we're going to probably be looking at something that we had removed, which was a wash bay that would environmentally help take the salt off the highway trucks, the fire trucks, and so forth. And perhaps the Commonwealth has regionalization grants, and maybe we can take a look at that to see if we could put together a grant package that would allow us to construct something on a regionalized basis to allow Rockland, Whitman, and other communities to use it so that we could make that argument to the state. So at the end of the day, we want to be, thinking about how we can make this whole thing work and be creative in how we finance it. So from that standpoint, I believe we've achieved that. I feel very comfortable at this stage of the game, and certainly it's something that in my mind is, something that could be recommended for all the people to vote on. And it's from a financing standpoint, under Proposition 2.5, we go to town meeting, which we will on October 14th, by 2/3 vote. If that's approved, it will go to the ballot question to exclude those amounts from the provisions of Proposition 2.5 the next week on October 21st. If that's approved by majority vote, then the appropriation is set. Now, the question becomes okay, what does that mean financially as far as a bond principal and interest payment on a yearly basis for 30 years? It would, for $38.5 million at 3%, result in about $2,050,000 per year in principal and interest. We do have that, and we would begin that roughly 2027, 2028. Well, in 2029, the Plymouth County retirement system will be fully funded. Currently, Abington's assessment to pay in to make it fully funded is $3.7 million a year. The normal assessment would be roughly about 1.3 million. So coming after 2029, we'll be saving right now, based on the Plymouth County Retirement's actuarial study, $2.4 million. $2,050,000 for the fire station DPW will be saving $2.4 million. Granted, it's an argument. We can't dictate how that money will be spent. That's up to the people at town meeting. But it's certainly an argument to say we've done our due diligence. We've said how we can offset that cost. And then ancillary to that, obviously, is that, and you'll be talking about this in one of your segments on the warrant, there's articles to rezone the Union Point, the former Naval Air Station at South Weymouth, and that will provide, based on the developer's numbers, a substantial amount of money to the town at full build-out. Yeah. So we have that in play, and that's my very brief discussion.
Yeah, that's a lot to digest, but it does make sense. And to kind of go back on one of your points, Kevin, that you made, the reason that reduction happened, it also comes to time. Mm-hmm. We want to make sure that we can get this passed, because the fire station and the DPW, the current buildings that we have, they're getting close to critical failure. Yep. And if we can't put something forward that everybody in the town can afford and don't get something new built, we're going to get put in a tight corner, because then we'll end up with failing buildings that we might not be able to work out of.
And the way I look at it, you have to look at it as like your own home. When your roof goes, do you want to replace it? No. Do you want to pay for it? Certainly not, but you have to do it. And I think, and that's where we are as a community. We have to address these critical needs, as you so state, because if we don't, the buildings are going to critically fail. And then it's going to cost us more in the long run. Now, granted, you go back to the 58.3 million, it would have been nice to have that. Certainly I say, well, yeah, that's good. I'd like to have a vacation home too, but I can't afford it. And that's why I think the argument is that we've reduced it to affordable levels. We dealt with the critical needs of the community as it relates to the fire and the DPW. We've positioned the buildings in such a way that they are situated on the lot, that if and when in the future they needed to be added onto, they can be done when it's affordable to do so. So I think the committee has really done an outstanding job in terms of making its recommendations, and then now it's up to the town manager and selectmen to move forward in terms of, okay, how do we make this fit into the community?
And we also took into account the growth that the town's going to have and how we're going to move forward. So from the fire station standpoint, we wanted to make sure that everything was going to be there so the building would last a long time and it wouldn't need to be redone. With the DPW, we had to at least give them what critically they needed. And in this new layout, they are getting everything that they have plus a little more. And we position, like you said, the layout on the property. That way it can be grown in over time if we need to. So as the DPW grows and the community grows, we can continue to grow that forward. But we had to kind of bring the cost down to make it more palatable for everybody.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, we are, again, everything that we need to continue with the full level of service from both of those departments is in this project.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. No, they've, and there's more, especially on the DPW standpoint. Their office is obviously going to stay on Summer Street, yeah, but they're going to have more storage space available to them. So that addresses their needs. The fire department's needs are addressed, and I can't reiterate it enough. I think it's a very good package, something that's affordable, that hopefully the people will approve.
And we do have an area where you can get plenty of information on this. If you want to tell them all about our website,
yeah,
information
absolutely.
That's there, and frequently asked questions.
Yeah, we have a website. It's investinabington.com. You can also access that from the town's webpage. There's a link at the top right of the town's webpage to go directly to the website. And on that website, you'll be able to find all the information, all the way going back to the feasibility study at the beginning, not just for the fire department, but for the DPW. It also has renderings that we've shown a couple times on the screen to show you the layout and the positioning of the buildings. There's an FAQ page that's on there that answers a lot of the questions that we've been getting, that we fielded from social media. And there's also all sorts of other links that are on there that you can see some of the current conditions of both of the facilities, and you can actually put eyes on why we actually really need to get these buildings done. And if there's any questions, there's a way to reach out and get those questions answered by just filling out the form on that website and sending it through, and you'll get a reply.
Well, thank you guys. I appreciate it, and thank you everybody for tuning in. Again, we'll have plenty of information out there for you. Frequently asked questions, we'd love to have you submit them so we can respond to them. October 14th at 9 a.m. It's the big date.
Yep.
It's a Saturday. So we hope to get as many people. We're going to need at least 150, but certainly we'd love to have as much participation as possible for this and some of the other issues that we're going to discuss. Again, Sean Riley, our town moderator, and I will be doing another segment in the very near future to go over the few other articles that are on there, are on the warrant. But for now, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you all.